Hey, Shalom, welcome. This is Rakam Makapash from GMS London, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chakodash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, and I'm going to entitle this one, Teaching the Elect is Real Easy, right? It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a struggle, to teach the elect, right? Because the elect are ultimately chosen to receive the word, right? So, when we're out there on the highways and byways and, when people see the videos and whatever, you shouldn't be struggling, right? And we shouldn't be having to struggle with people to make you get it, or, because we can't make you get it. you know, it's the beauty of this truth, man. It's not really our work, right? It's the Lord, right? The Lord has his chosen elect, right, to receive this word. And once they hear it, you know, they sync up. You know what I'm saying? They sync up. They get it. They may be inquisitive. Like asking questions is good, right? But they're not trying to fight you, trying to give you their opinions, like most people that you meet on the highways and byways. They're trying to tell you what they think and what they believe, and that you're wrong, and it can't mean this and it can't mean that, and what you're doing ain't right, or you swearing, all this fluff that these characters out here in the world, they try to do, because they don't believe, right? But that becomes very evident very quickly to us, especially you've been in this truth long enough, right? That you're just not a believer. You're not a believer, and therefore, if this truth was not meant for you, we're not out here trying to convince the minds of the unbelievers. That's not what we're out here for. Okay, we're out here to fish for the elect. All right. So if you find you're being adversarial, right? You're being combative. You know what I mean? You don't want to accept, right, what we're teaching you. Then you're not one of ours. It's really quite as simple as that. And we ain't got to prove nothing to you, right? Because especially when you people come up in these adversarial type of with this adversarial type of energy. You're just out here trying to disrupt us, or you trying to disprove us. You know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. Man. You're not one that we're out here to get. So it is a complete waste of time unless you want to do it for edification of the for the camera, for those watching. But it's not necessary. You don't have to. But sometimes you're in that spirit. But yeah, it should be real easy, man. When the Lord rocked up, man. The disciples, when they saw him, he just told them, "Look, man, come follow me." We didn't even know breakdowns, man. We didn't even know scriptures. They just followed. They believed that it was a spirit. And this is how everything operates ultimately. All right, so let's kick off. Right, I'll start off here in John chapter 10. I'm start from verse 25. Right, it says, Yahweh answered them, "I told you, and ye believed not." Right, so same on the highways and byways, we out here teaching, right? We told you what the deal is, what the understanding of particular scriptures are, the breakdowns of them, right? You believe not. You don't want to believe. You want to believe, oh, God loves everybody. God came for the whole world. Well, okay, if that's what you want to believe, then believe that. But guess what? It ain't gonna come to pass, right? And you refuse to, accept that the Most High only loves his people. Then this truth's not for you. It's real quick, real simple. We don't really have to spend much time going back and forth. Ultimately, we bring out a couple of scriptures. You don't want to eat it, then fine. Don't eat the roll, right? You will not partake of this supper, right? Which is another scripture we're gonna get towards the end, right? It says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Salakia. I'll skip this 26, right? 26, right? It says, But ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep, right? Because the sheep are a particular predestined group of people of the children of Israel, right? You are not of the sheep. The fold has already been selected or elected, right? But you believe not, because you are not of my sheep. As I said unto you, my sheep hear my voice, right? And his voice is this word, these scriptures that we bring out to you, and the understanding thereof, right? Because ultimately the understanding comes from the Holy Spirit, right? And it's something that links up in your mind when you hear it, right? It makes sense to you. It don't make sense to everybody else. That's why everybody else is trying to fight, trying to resist, trying to put their own 2 pence in their opinions, you know. But to the elect, when they hear this word and they hear the understanding of these words, it clicks, right? And they might have more questions. That's fine. You can ask your questions, innit? But the elect are gonna do it in a sincere manner, not like you devils out here that you trying to find somewhere to slip us up, or or you just want to just be bare competitive, right? We're not out here for your entertainment, for you to have an argument and to make you feel like you're some big dude. You're not here for all of that. Okay, our sole purpose is for the elect's sake, to teach them these scriptures, to bring them, bring it to their ears, right? You other people are insignificant. That's just the real truth about it. Okay, we don't care. No one cares. We don't care about what is gonna happen to you, because the Lord has already got it, your judgment waiting, right? So we're not interested in all that. All we're interested in is the elect, because that's who we're sent for. All right, we can't make you of the elect. We can't, reverse your judgment or change your judgment. It's all set in stone, right? And so we're only concerned about the elect, because that is, again, who we are sent for. Okay, that is our job description. And yes, we preach, in the midst of all people, so the whole world will hear us. They do hear us, right? But ultimately, the truth is not for them, right? Teaching amongst you is just part of what we have to do, right? Because Israel is scattered among all people, so that's where we are, right? But the message isn't necessarily for you, unless you're of the elect. This word can't do you no good, There's a scripture on that. I'm trying to think. How did that go? Mixed with faith, I think that part's in there. Oops. Yeah. All right. Hebrews chapter 4, stuff in verse 2, right? So for unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them, right? Because everyone can hear it, but we don't understand and know that it's not for everybody. So you think that we are trying to convince the minds of the people? We're not trying to convince nobody. The elect don't need convincing. The elect just simply need to hear it. To wake up. It's like a trigger, a source code trigger, like and then the man become awake. Because they're here. Like the elect are here on the earth. It's just the timing of the awakening, so to speak, is that's all set too. Right? Not everybody comes in at the same time. Brothers coming at different times, man. Some are going to come in the 11th hour. So it's just all down to the timing of the Lord, when he wants these individuals to wake up, when he wants these individuals to cross our paths, right? Because it's really the Lord doing doing all the heavy lifting ultimately, doing all the work, to be honest. Yeah, we go out there and make our bodies a living sacrifice, and we do the foolishness of preaching. But ultimately, we don't make things move. We don't cause things to manifest, and it's the Most High's will that manifests, right? So that these elect, when it's their time to cross paths with them in the Lord, or for their minds to be opened, right? That's their time, right? And the Most High will add to our numbers, and this is not a numbers game. Just to throw that out there too. The elect are a specific number, and really it's a small number ultimately, comparatively. To these other groups that exist out there. Begin with 144,000, right? So yeah, back here it says, for unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them. This word doesn't profit everybody, because it's not meant for everybody, especially not these heathens, right? It's not for them at all. right? So, ultimately, if you're a heathen, you're wasting your time. But as a caveat to that, right, there's many of our people that believe or identify themselves as coming from these other nations, right? So it really is all down into the spirit, and that's why we don't just turn anybody away. If you want to listen, then listen, but listen good. Don't be talking, right? Don't be trying to press your points. Okay, you didn't set up a spot on the street or whatever to teach your doctrine, right? So don't start doing it now. While we're up in that, we're up in our spot doing our thing. Don't be doing it then. If you got all these beliefs, you go and find your own spot and teach your beliefs in it. Okay, we are here to teach, not to be taught. All right, that's not being proud. It's just the role, the job that we've been given. We're not out here to learn from the world and from the masses. We've been taught this truth by our elders, the prophets, the men of old, back in the spirit, right? The apostles, right? And so we're now equipped to go teach, and that's why you see us out there. Not because we're not learned, right? We are learned, right? And so we're out here to teach. And so if you're not here to listen, then you're in the wrong place. This is but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it, right? Because the faith is the element that is going to make things click, right? And only the elect have been given this gift of faith, right? As it is a gift, as the scriptures say, given from on high, from the Heavenly Father, right? The elect have been given this gift, right? So if you don't believe, it means you don't have faith, okay? And so we can't do nothing about that. We can't help you with that, right? We can't give you faith, right? Can't make you understand. All right, so if you're simply not understanding and you want to, try and come against everything that we're saying, then good luck to you in the future. But we don't need to deal. We ain't got nothing to say. Really, nothing to talk about anymore. All right, you're simply going to receive the judgment the Heavenly Father prescribed for those that don't believe. So that's what it is. Okay. So yeah, the truth doesn't profit everybody. It profits the chosen men of the Lord, the elect of Israel. Right, and I said the elect of Israel are going to come out from all these different nations. So you might consider yourself, a heathen coming from a different nation. You might come from India, you might come from Russia, you might come from I don't know, Australia. You might come from all these different places in the world. Right, you wouldn't consider yourself an Israelite, but do understand that our people are scattered in all these different places throughout the whole earth. Right, so it's possible for the elect to come out of all these places, right? No matter what it is that you may look like or what you sound like, right? It's possible for the elect to come out of all these places. This is why we have to preach among all nations, okay? So that the Spirit can to seek these individuals out, right, and bring them to the truth. And if they're of the elect, then they'll receive this truth, okay? So yeah, again, it doesn't profit everybody, but we're out here for the elect's sake, okay? So again, back here, John chapter 10, verse 27, just to get this point again. My sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me, right? The elect are going to follow when they hear. Okay, you ain't going to wrestle them. You ain't going to, jam it down their throats. You ain't going to have an hour argument or debate, getting into fisticuffs and exchanging verbals. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be that hard. You already know you're not dealing with a member of the elect if it's got to that point already. Because these men they ain't here to listen. They're not listening, right? Because they're ignorant, right? So then you already know you're not dealing with that already. You're not dealing with the elect already, right? Someone that is patient and quiet, right? Prepared to listen. Okay. Let's see. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1. It says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools. Because ultimately, what do you people really know? A lot of you people that are here bugged out, right? You come with a narrative that you've heard or that you've been taught, that you've never really looked into yourself. Most people don't know nothing about the scriptures. And that's just being honest, man. Right? You spew a lot of rhetoric, right? But none of you are studied. But you got the most amount of opinions in the world. Don't understand what words mean. You don't understand the context. You just know one, two scriptures maybe, right? And the narrative that, a pseudo narrative that's being pushed in your head. That is it, and that's what you come with. And even those that maybe study a little bit, they always try to uphold that particular narrative because this is what they've been taught in their churches, even though it doesn't fit with the rest of the scriptures. But on the whole, you don't really know anything, so you inevitably give the sacrifice of fools because you don't know anything, but you're just gonna run your mouth anyway. This is why it's better just to listen. And if you disagree or anything that we say, do what the Church of Berea did. Go home. Rather than opening up your mouth against the men of the Lord that were out there teaching, go home and look up what was being said and go study what we've said, rather than argue with us out there on the street. Because you don't know. You want it to not be true, but you don't actually know. Right? So go home and go study. Go read. Go look it all up, man. And Lord willing, maybe you'll find your answers. Or maybe you won't. If you're not of the elect, you won't find nothing. But the elect are going to be humble in these types of situations, man. And if you don't click with them right there at that minute, they ain't trying to make, a mass spectacle out of it, man. They'll go home and look things up, right? And study to show themselves approved. They will go and do the work necessary to find out the truth, right? That's what it is. Right? You shouldn't have to wrestle with them, and do all the crazy shit just to try and make them understand. If they're not understanding, then just leave them to it. But maybe they'll come back again. After doing some research, or maybe they'll come back again and ask some questions. It's not necessarily that the elected they're gonna, as soon as they see you on the spot, just jump into the camp and be a full blown Hebrew. It's like, no, it might take a little time of process. For them to discover things and learn more things as they're studying. But you people ain't doing all of that. You people have an argument, go home, and don't do nothing about what's being said. You know what I mean? You go to a party later. You're not even thinking about the scriptures anymore. You know what I mean? You're not even trying to be edified or trying to learn or get any deeper. You ain't doing all of that. You just want to argue, right? But yeah, So be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil, because you don't know what you just run in your mouth. Right? So be not rash with thy mouth, right? And let not thine heart be hasty. Get emotional. Right? Don't get emotional, right? So that you're hasty to utter things, right? Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thy heart be hasty to utter anything before God, for God is in heaven and thou upon earth. Therefore let thy words be few. Right? Don't speak against what's coming out of the scriptures, especially if you don't actually know nothing. Ultimately, like you're not studied, then why open your mouth? Oh, because I believe that. What do you believe? Why do you believe that? Because you was told it, right? And you better validate everything that you've been told. You better back up something, right? But oftentimes, when you speak to these dudes, they don't actually know anything behind of what they believe. They don't, right? So it's better just to be quiet when people are dealing with the scriptures and dealing with it expertly, breaking down words, getting precepts, all these different things, breaking down prophecy. Like, these are not the average guy, bro. So you shouldn't just be opening your mouth like that. He's not going deep. Bro is going deep. All right. And so in that situation, it's better to you just to keep quiet, identify that these men are on a different level, because I don't, speaking on that person's behalf, that I don't study. These men are obviously studied. I should go home and do some studying. That's what you should be doing, rather than opening your mouth without actually looking up a damn thing. But that's the difference. We see someone that's of the elect or potentially of the elect, and someone that's not. They're just in that dark state, right? This is Romans chapter 11, verse 7. It says, what then? It says, Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it. Right? The election are able to obtain the truth. Right? Because it's a gift. Right along with their faith that the Most High have blessed them with. And again, this is a predetermined thing. Right? It's a predetermined thing. Right? Before anything is, before any works have been done. Right? It says, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. The rest of our people are blind. Okay, and that's just how they're gonna stay. According as it is written, God have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear. So you can break it down a 1,000 times, man. They're still never gonna get it. All right. So, and David said, let their table be made a snare, okay, which is these scriptures, right, and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them, right? So, you know, you've got loads of Jake Christians and whatever, right, holding these scriptures, man, but it's it doesn't provide them with anything, right? Like I said, it's unprofitable to them, right? So really, they're trapped with it, right? Because they don't really understand it. But like I said, they got the most amount of opinions, you know. Because it's not studied words that they you know, they're talking to you with. It's just opinions and emotions, you know, lazy doctrine. All right. It says, according as it is written, God have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. That their eyes be darkened, that they may not see. Right? So, you know, like I said, a large portion of people are actually being made to be blind. Right? Because the Most High does not want them on this side of things, at least. Right? They are meant to perish in the day of judgment. Okay? So you got the ones that the Most High is delivering, i.e. the elect, their eyes are open, their ears is open. And everybody else, he's put them in darkness. You know, not able to receive the truth, refusing it, rejecting it. You know? Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back always. All right. This is Isaiah 28 verse 9. It says, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Right? Because you have to understand these words. It's not just a case of, oh, you know, you read the words, I remember the words, but I don't know what they mean. You have to have understanding. All right. And it's the same with, what was it, Philip, an Ethiopian eunuch, right? You know, the Ethiopian was reading the scriptures, who was an Israelite, by the way, right? He just came from the land of Ethiopia. That's where he resided, right? And I believe he worked for the queen, right? He was reading the text, the scriptures. I can't remember what book it was, but it was a particular book, right? And he was reading it, but you know, Philip asked him, "Do you understand what thou readest?" You know, and he said, "How can I without a teacher?" Right? So it's not enough to simply just you read the text and you remember the text and you can quote. Maybe you can even quote the text. You remember it like that. You can quote it, but you don't have any real understanding of what these things actually mean. Right? You need to be given understanding, right? And so it's the Lord that enables that understanding. Okay, it's for you to believe in that explanation or you know, that teaching, because the Lord set up teachers, i.e. the men of the Lord, i.e. the prophets, the apostles, the disciples, right? These are all men given the ability to teach others, right? And this is who you're being taught by. Because the Most High ain't just gonna come down to each individual and teach you on a one-to-one personal basis, bro. It's not, it don't work like that, right? The Lord set up men to do the work, right? Only a few men of the Lord ever come to directly like that, right? And none of us should think we're that special. You know what I'm saying? Because like I say, it was only a few men that ever happened to, right? But the Lord set up men to do the work. All right. And so there are teachers out there, and that's what we're out here doing, right? So this is how the Lord gets you to understand. But whether you can understand or not is up to the Lord, whether you're not if you're of the elect or not, right? So again, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, right? And this is what, bro is an expert in, man. Going to the different precepts, these different scriptures, to link them one to another, to give you understanding, to give you context. Going into words, breaking down the words, so you get a deeper understanding of what these things are. Right? It says, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. Right? And this is what the elect are, right? They're weaned from the milk. They're drawn up from the, because they're born again, right? Like Yahushua said to Nicodemus, right? We have to go through this process of being born again, because what we've been brought up and we've been made to know, okay, it has to be revised, man, because it wasn't accurate, right? So we have to start again, okay, and be drawn up, be raised up again from the beginning, right? So we have to be nourished by that milk from the beginning before we can get, as I could speak about, eating meat, which is for the seasoned, the aged. Before we can get to that point, we have to drink that milk again, right? And be raised up the right way. All right. Here we got 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 2. Right, it says, as newborn babes, right, desiring the sincere milk of the word, right? And everything we do it sincerely. We're learning. We want to know. We might have questions as brothers in the truth. We might have questions about certain things that we don't particularly understand, and we need to understand on it. And we do it with all sincerity, man. We're not, should be asking questions like to find, because brothers have done this in the past, man. These snakes, these demons that are, become bugged out, man. They're trying to ask questions to see, who's going to slip up somewhere, just to accuse a brother for getting something wrong or whatever the case may be, But we do everything in sincerity, and it's the same when you come to the camps, when you come to the brothers that they're teaching. You should come with sincerity, right? If you're here to prove your point, fuck off, man. Just piss off, bro. You don't want your hand, man. You're not here to hear your point. Go and teach your point somewhere else, right? If you believe in it that much, go teach your point somewhere else, right? If you're sincere and you want to learn, then come to learn. But just understand, look, learning requires listening, right? And you might have questions, and you can interject at appropriate times, but you're here to learn and listen, just like you was at school. And this is why you have to become a child again, because a child is very sponge-like, right? It absorbs information, right? And a child that knows shit, so the child hasn't really got much to say. He sits there and learns wherever wherever it is that you're teaching them. You teaching the numbers or the alphabet. They sit there and learn that because they don't know nothing about no alphabet. They don't know nothing about no numbers. Tell them the time and all this kind of all this sort of stuff. Right? So they're there to learn. Right? And yeah, a child's attention span can be a bit short at times. It's the same with these people out here now. Right? So you just have to be patient though. And eventually you'll learn it. Eventually you'll understand it. All right. So you have to become like children. All right. So again, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the Lord, that we may grow thereby. All right. Is it more? I already wanted like that. All right. So yeah, you have to be raised up on that milk from the beginning again, and be like children. Okay. When they come to learn, right? These are the things that the attributes that demonstrate before coming into this truth, right? Let's see. Let me grab this quick. It's 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 16. Yeah, right. It says, as also in all his epistles. This is Peter speaking concerning Paul. Right, Paul's epistles he's speaking about, right? As also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, right? And again, most of these guys that come up, they're not studied. They want to debate you or want to put their point across. They're not really studied. Again, they're just running with doctrine and rhetoric that they've been told. Right, not really studied like that. Right, so it said they're unlearned. right? And they unstable, an unstable rest. They struggle, and they want to struggle with you, man. Right? They want to wrestle with you concerning what they believe, but what you believe is off. And you got no right to really to sit there and debate with us, man, because you're not even a studied person. You're not even studious, to even be coming up to men that are. And I hate that, People got all the opinions in the world, man, and they believe the opinion's correct, but they got nothing to back it at all. Nothing at all. And it's annoying. a woman does that sometimes. She talks that shit like she doesn't know nothing about. I'm like, why are you telling me that when I know what I'm talking about and you don't know what the hell you're talking about? Like, why are you even talking? Because it's mere conjecture, or what they call that, or it's just bare like opinion. Well, that's how I think, so that's what I'm gonna say, and it must be true. No, that's not how it works, right? But like I said, we're here to teach, right? We're not here to be taught, right? Of you individuals out here that don't really know shit. Let's be real, right? So you wrestle with the scriptures, you wrestle with this truth, right? But the elect ain't gonna wrestle. Let's say you ain't gonna be a struggle like that, right? This is a way which they that are learned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction, right? That's you Christians, JCat, that you struggle with the scriptures, man. Wanting things to be the way you want it to be. This is not how this truth works, man. Okay, it is the way the scriptures say it is, and that's what we're here to push, whether you like it or not. Whether it hurts your feelings or whatever the case may be, right? Cry aloud and spare not. It's not about your personal opinions and feelings and all of this sort of stuff. Okay, the Most High don't care about all of that, right? He's got a message, a truth that you either accept or don't accept, right? And again, all you can accept it because they're the sheep, right? And they will follow, right? Because we're designed to be that way. Okay. It's Baruch chapter 4, verse 37. It says, "Lo, thy sons come, who now sentest away," right? Because I mentioned that we're all scattered throughout the whole earth, right? So, this word has to go out there into the whole earth. And that job is made infinitely easier, right? With the technology that the Most High has enabled in this era, right? Because before, the apostles and disciples of old have to take journeys, long ass journeys on boat. Because even considering today, these journeys won't even particularly be seen as long, right? Because we've got planes and shit now, we've got fast boats and all kinds of things. These journeys wouldn't be as long, right? But back then, there were long journeys. Even if it was traveling, somewhat a short distance, so to speak, right? Because things just took longer, right? Because the technology back then, right? But now we've got, but they were traveling to different regions and carting it around. It took days to get to places and stuff like that. Where now things can take hours, but it's been made even more quicker than that. The fact that we have the internet, right? In fact, you don't have to travel. You can get your word out there in another region of the world in seconds, or as quick as it takes to upload a video. Or if you're live and you're streaming, almost instantaneously, and it can be watched. Right, so our job has been made infinitely easier, right? On top of this, right? So, like I said, teaching the elect is real easy, right? You don't have to, produce gimmicks, right? To bring people in, right? You just teach the word, right? You just teach the word, and if they're of the elect, it will click, right? They're not going to be combative, right? They ain't start threatening you. maybe they had at one point before they came to the senses. It's possible, right? But like, you ain't gonna be having to go back and forth with with these people. Like, the elect are gonna understand. All right, the elect are gonna understand, right? As soon as they're taught and things are broken down onto them, it's gonna click. Okay. So I'm finish reading this. It says, Lo, thy sons come, whom thou sentest away. They come gathered together from the east to the west by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the glory of God, Yahweh. Right? So it's this word that's, reaching out to them. And this word is able to reach out to them through avenues like the internet. Okay, which has been a great tool for us to get this word out. All right, which means you don't need to do all the, all the touring, That shit costs money. That shit's expensive, man. And again, it's that in itself is an impossible task for you to go touring everywhere, to every location, to every town, and to every street, every corner of every town. Or that's an impossible task, isn't it? But this internet is in everybody's houses. It's in every home. People are going to say, well, it's not in every home, but need to consider this, right? The Lord's elect are predetermined, right? So whether or not every individual has it in their house or whatever, right? The elect are going to have a means as to hear this word, regardless, right? Because then because otherwise how will prophecy be fulfilled, right? It has to be fulfilled some way, And so the elect are going to somehow, some way, because the Lord's at work, right, is going to receive this truth, right? Internet just is a very powerful tool that we have access to get the word out. Okay, it's much more effective than us traveling the globe. Okay, in this day and age, it just is. All right. Hence, why there's even cameras out there now to this day, right? At this moment in time, right? It's because of the internet. Because they said the truth, it started out there in New York, and there was camps out there, and groups out there and whatever stuff. But a lot of that disbanded. Elders and apostles will tell you the whole story behind it. But from at that point, after the 2000s and stuff like that, when YouTube started popping and start uploading those videos onto YouTube, the camps became worldwide. Okay, it wasn't just restricted to New York or America. Now there's camps everywhere, and that's through the tool of the internet, right? And all through just preaching the word. Yeah, not like I said, these other camps, they want to they want to do their thing with they want to market all these different aspects of being a Hebrew Israelite, and infusing the world to attract more followers. You ain't got to do all of that. You shouldn't be doing all of that, right? The word is simple, right? Our job is easy, right? We ain't got to think about money schemes. Like we might have to get money, pull money together to help brothers out and stuff like that, but we ain't got to think about no money schemes and building studios and building universities. That's not our role in this, right? It's not the role of the prophets or the apostles to build some sort of infrastructure for us in Babylon. That's not what we're here for. To get or to get you rich. You're not here for that. We just keep it very simple, just like we're supposed to, right? It's not complicated, right? If that doesn't appeal to you, if the word doesn't appeal to you, it doesn't attract. It's not enough to attract you. Then guess what? Piss off, right? Go find your money making scheme somewhere else. Go join IUIC or Sakari or all these other fucking groups. They're all doing it, right? But this is about the word. We're gonna attract people with the word, like we're reading here. Well, we just read in Baruch. All right. What was this? Okay, yep. 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 20. So, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, right? These latter times, these last days, right? Then will I shew these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, right? And they shall see all together. And like I said, this firmament is open. The internet is open to us, right? And we can see it. These videos, these lessons, how you can read the scriptures online. You know what I mean? It's always available. It's there constantly, right, for you to learn from. Right? The Lord has opened up the firmament, right? As you send in all these different signals everywhere and whatever, right? Through the unicorn, right? You have access to have understanding. Okay, so we haven't got to sail across the world. I ain't got to take a trip down to South America in because that's a mission for where I am. It's crazy ass mission. You know, I ain't even stepped outside of Europe too much. I don't think I have. No, no, I haven't. Yeah, that shit expensive, man. Um, and this is why brothers, the camps are everywhere. They can deal with their region and whatever, man. But we ain't got to go around the whole earth, and because there's something that us to do that without leaving the country. You know, the Lord has made it easy for us, so to speak. Right? At times this don't feel easy, but it could be a lot worse. It's like the apostles speak about studying and researching. Man, they have to go to the libraries, man. Imagine that. Like, imagine you have to take time out of your day to go down to your local library or whatever, or maybe your local library is not even good enough. You know what I mean? You might have to go to like one of those big ass libraries to find the books that you really want to get. You got to travel down there, travel back, spend time in the library, or you can take the books out, maybe depending on what book it is, I guess. Um, you know, I can't remember the whole thing with libraries. I don't think you have to pay for it. I don't know. I think it depends, I guess. But yeah, imagine doing all of that. That's like a lot of extra effort, like compared to now when I can just tap it on Google and Google can find it for me. You know what I'm saying? Or you can find that book. I can order that book. Everything's just easier. And we have to appreciate that because, like I said, things could be a lot more difficult as things have been in the past. You know, you imagine back in the ancient world, man. You want to go to a library, you about to go to Alexandria, mission. Mission. But now today, this era is not like that. There's things the Most High have given us and that we can make use of. So like I say, Kahala Yaba Shemel Shai, man, because this thing is easy ultimately. But we're in the flesh, we complain, things hurt, brains get tired, but ultimately everything's easy. Or at least easier, than it once was. All right. So again, everything about teaching the elect is ultimately easy. All right. It's Luke 14 and 23. It's part of a parable, right? So the Lord said unto the servant, go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled, right? And that's what we're doing. But again, it's who's going to ultimately be or stay in there, right, is the elect, right? Because we have to speak to or speak out to everybody so everyone can hear. So we're out here, bidding to come, compel them to come to, to bid into the marriage, right? But only the elect are going to be worthy partakers, right? Everybody else is not worthy, right? So if I say unto you that none of those men which were bidden shall taste my supper, which were these men you read up before, right? Made up all these excuses. All right. Just another thing I want to touch on before I leave, because I mentioned it a couple of times. Predestined. Predestination. Predetermined? Like, which one is it? You know what? Predestinate. That was the word, right? Predestinated. I didn't spell it right. Oops. Let's see. Okay, I'll get both of these actually. Romans 8 verse 29. let me read verse 28, right? So we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose, right? For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate, right? Because how does the Lord foreknow us before we were born? Because we were in the spirit. He created the spirits. You know, he knows the spirits. Okay, before putting them in bodies, right? So that's how he already knows us, right? So it's predetermined that these particular spirits are of the elect, and they're gonna have, or they're gonna receive this truth, and they're gonna be saved, right? But other spirits that he created are not gonna be saved, right? They're gonna have to face the judgment, right? So he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, the elect of Israel, right? And whom he called, them he also justified. Because it's like we keep telling you, man, the elect are not some floating Buddhas, you know what I mean? Some mystical men, you know, like they're just regular guys. Like, that's all the prophets ever were. We're just regular guys that the Lord blessed with this truth, right? And yeah, they did. Some of them did, amazing miracles and stuff like that. But that wasn't all of them. All of them wasn't bringing fire from heaven, right? They were just guys with the truth, and this is exactly what we are today. They weren't necessarily perfect individuals, right? Um, you know, they were just guys, man, right? Hebrew guys, Israelite guys, right? And that's all we are today, right? So to look at us, we're nothing special, right? And that's just how things have always been, really. You take John the Baptist, for instance. The man thought he's crazy out there in the wilderness, right? But he's just a guy. But he was given this truth, and he was given a role and a purpose to serve. All right. Verse 30 says, moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. Right? For what shall we say then? What shall we say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? Right? Because they're predetermined. The elect are predestinated. No one can prevent them from the salvation. No one can cause them to fail. Right? So when you're, like I say, when you're on the highways and byways and that teaching, it's like, if he's of the elect, he's going to get it. It isn't going to be a hard thing, because the Most High is going to make it happen anyway. Right? No matter how, even if, like, I don't know, you're having an off day, you're fumbling some scriptures, I don't know. You just to say your teaching ain't like, you wasn't really feeling your teaching that day. You could have done it better. We all feel like that sometimes. It's just like, it happens, isn't it? But even so, right? If he's of the elect, none of that is even going to matter. It doesn't matter about our presentation. It really doesn't matter about any of that, right? The fact is, if you're there giving them the truth, right? The elect is going to wake up to that, and that's why Satan can, throw all these spanners in all he wants. He can, cause up a whole crowd of people to get riled up. But if the elect's among them, right? Like, these men ain't gonna stand shit, because they're all just riled up. But if the elect is there, he's gonna receive the truth. Satan cannot succeed in preventing that individual getting the truth. It just can't be done, right? But yeah, let me get this one as well. No, it's not one. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 5, right? Let me start from 4. So, according as he have chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, right? I said in the spirit, right? That we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua Mashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, right? This is all about the Lord's will and what he wants, man. And it's his prerogative at the end of the day. He is the creator of all things, right? And if he wants to have a chosen people and he wants people not to be chosen, that's up to him. He wants to save people, doesn't want to save, he wants to destroy people, that's up to him. Okay, who are we to interfere with that, with the Most High's will? And even if we could, we couldn't. You know what I'm saying? It, it just is what it is, and people, majority of people don't see that as fair, and that's why they have a problem with our doctrine, because they think the most high is fair and equal with everybody. It's just, that's not in the scriptures, man. You made that up. You made that up, man. Right? The Lord have predestinated to himself chosen men who he's going to glorify. And it's not everybody. Right? That's just the truth. Right? According to his good pleasure of his will. Right? And it's his good pleasure or his pleasure to destroy the Edomites. I ain't got nothing to add to that. I mean, I'm got nothing to say against it or for it. Like, it's just, actually, no, I agree. I'm for it. But I'm not going to oppose the Most High on that. Why would I? It's his choice. It's his creation. Do what you want. Not like you need my permission anyway. It's just like, come on, man. Like, what are we, man? We are nothing but ants under under a microscope, under a sun. You know what I mean? The Most High he roast people out here if he wants to. We're not in a position to speak against the Heavenly Father. Okay, we're only here to obey his will. Otherwise, there's consequences. Really, that's it. You people might want to complain about it, but what can you do? All right. What can you do? But yeah, so that's on that point. All right, but I think that's all I had there, right? So yeah, like I said, it shouldn't be a struggle to teach the elect, and our work is really, what does the scripture say? So light affliction, right? Because what we're being asked to do isn't really a lot, really. Second Corinthians chapter 4. Let's see. Verse 15, right? So for all things are for your sakes, that the abundant grace might, through the thanksgiving of many, redound to the glory of God. For which cause we faint not, but through our outward, though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction is but for a moment, right? So the work that we've been asked to do it's not, like I said, it's not even arduous like it was back then. How it used to be done, right? So we haven't really got much to complain about. Let's be real. Yeah, it gets cold sometimes. Yeah, it gets hot sometimes. But it is what it is at the end of the day. And Scripture speaks about making our bodies a living sacrifice. So it's not a tool. It's not an impossible task the Most High given us, man. It's pretty simple. All right, and then so we haven't even got to worry about waking up, because the Most High's got that part. We're just being told to go out there, teach this word. You're gonna get scoffers. Don't worry about them, right? You're here for the elect. They're gonna these scoffers are gonna condemn themselves, so don't worry about them. But you're here for the elect, right? And just teach the word. That's what I ask you to do. You ain't gotta worry about boot camps. You ain't gotta worry about fashion shows and films and fancy productions, and you ain't gonna worry about all of that, right? Elaborate God. You ain't gonna worry about all of that. Just teach the word, right? And if you come in contact with the elect, they're gonna believe you. They're gonna listen. They're gonna follow. Sounds easy enough to me, man. But it's just the only thing that it goes against us, or it's difficult for us, is being in this flesh and time, having patience, because we all want to get out of here now. So doing this week after week is like, oh Lord, when you're gonna bring around the destruction? Because we want to be, we want to get out of here, man. But we have to practice patience. We have to learn patience. And so we will do this as long as we need to. Right? It's not because we want to be out there necessarily. We want to do the Lord's will and seal the elect and all that kind of stuff. But what we really want is the kingdom. What we really want is the kingdom. And so in our spirit yearns to be out of this place. But obviously we're stuck here in this kingdom under Esau. So it's that battle of patience, man. It's a test of your faith. right? That's really the hard part, and it's not like it's not something that you know. I don't know that you got. It's not patience is not a tangible thing. It's not like you got to learn a skill, develop this. It's just something that if you let its course run, it's gonna happen anyway. You know what I mean? It's not, you haven't got to actively do anything for that. You just got to be patient, do nothing essentially, right? So even that, it's difficult, but it's not some crazy ass task. It's really simple. Right? The simplicity that's in Yahweh Shai, right? So yeah, you know, I'm gonna chat it on a bit on this video, but hey, Lord, it's been edifying, and like I said, it shouldn't be difficult, or teaching the elect, teaching in general. So, with that, I'm gonna say shalom, man. I hope this is edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters in the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.